Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Michael Sidofsky, artist and photographer. Please enjoy Michael Sidofsky. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I am here with Michael Sidofsky, artist, photographer, and lens-based artist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
I am excited for you to be here and to chat about creativity and art and photography. But before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of what creativity means, why don't you spend a couple of minutes and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Hey, my name's Michael Sidofsky. I go by the handle Mind's Eye on social media.
Nice.
I'm a photographer based in Toronto, Canada, born and raised. I've been doing this for, about a decade, started off as a hobby and then slowly over time turned into a full-time career. How it started was I was just exploring my city after work, with the little camera on my phone.
Yeah.
And just taking little photos of things I found interesting. And then I really started to fall in love with that process and started to develop my eye and my skills, and I started taking images that I really enjoyed and that other people started to enjoy too. So I really started going hard on it. And then over time, I started getting requests for jobs and making some money off of it, to the point where I could actually leave my old job and do this full time. So over the course of the next, I would say 7-8 years, I'm working with tourism boards from around the world, automotive companies like Ford and Lincoln, cell phone brands, Sony for one. Now I'm working with camera lens manufacturers and camera filter products and writing books and doing podcasts.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And I love that it started as a hobby and just photographing things after work that you were inspired by or you found interesting. And what was it like to transition from it being a hobby into it being your full-time gig and career?
Well, it was exciting. I mean, I fell in love with this, and then I was able to, do what I love finally,
Yeah.
But I mean, there were some hurdles. I'd never, ran my own business before, or done my own marketing, or so there's a lot I had to learn on the other end of it. So
right.
So that was a little tricky to figure out at first, but once I got it going, it's like this wagon. You're just trying to keep it on the path, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think I guess I'm so curious now, being in a what people call creative careers and using your creativity as your source of income. How does that work for you? Has your creativity lost some of its luster now that it's that career, or do you still find that you're able to really keep a high creative flow going?
If anything, I think it's increased.
I love that.
My creativity, because I feel like it's something I had to eventually discover. At first, when I was learning photography, I was kind of always referencing things I had seen before,
Yeah.
because the photography that the world knows, and I want to be a photographer, so my photo should look like this or look like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and it works, right? But then over time, you want to develop your own voice and tell your own story, and you learn how to do it along the way.
Yeah.
And then that all like it'll change your photography, but it also changes like everything, like how you approach future shoots, how you approach like a new scene, um
Mm-hmm.
projects you want to work on. um yeah, so I feel like I'm more creative now than I've ever been.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love it. So, what does it mean to you to be creative?
um well, at the moment I'm like exploring like different ideas, like really branching into like storytelling and creating some conceptual work as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just heading out and seeing what happens out there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, really preconceiving these images in my mind and planning and making sure they happen. Maybe that involves like bringing models or just revisiting the same place over and over again
Mm-hmm.
to like really narrow down the exact look that I want. So um so yeah, it's kind of changing in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hearing you kind of go from this experience of walk out in the world and see what happens to actually going out with a plan and some structure and some boundaries, which has helped kind of transform your creativity into how you use it today.
Yes, that's right. But there's times like, like if I'm working for a client and they have like a specific shot list,
Yeah.
I have to work within, that framework. And
Mm-hmm.
but I have my style now, I feel.
Yeah.
A certain aesthetic and a certain way of framing that they were very well aware of when they hired me. And that, still
Sure.
requires like a certain level of creativity to be able to
Yeah.
find the compositions, and then in post processing to be able to, like kind of bring this image to life.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you were talking about like having found your voice in the world of photography and going from kind of imitating or taking aspects of other photographers and finding your own voice, for individuals who are kind of looking to discover their own voice, what tips might you have for someone who's trying to find their own voice in their creative expression?
Well, I'd say like something brought you here in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason why you started shooting is you must have seen something that inspired you,
Yeah.
uh, or you've just been like taken aback by like a certain image. Something got you going, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of people kind of veer off course. They have to do maybe what's trending,
Mm-hmm.
or like what clients want all the time, and they don't really get to dive into their personal art. um
Yeah.
so but I feel I my advice would be to just jump back in and remember what brought you here in the first place.
Oh, that's a
Totally.
great reminder. Yeah. Do you have moments where you have to remind yourself like what got you into this?
I do. I do a lot of well, lately I've been doing a lot of like introspection, I guess.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was doing everything from like a comatose state at first. Like
Yeah.
I was like I just being drawn to certain scenes, shooting them,
Mhm.
processing them in a certain way. And then someone would ask me why I did this. And I didn't have an answer. Right. It's
Mm.
just like I just kind of just came out of me. I don't know where it came from. But now I'm
Hmm.
starting to realize like, we all have influences that go like way back, like to like
Hmm.
core memories of family and
Yeah.
movies that we've seen when we were like very, very young, or even like Saturday morning cartoons or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that stuff really sticks, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Um, so realizing that a lot of the work I've been making, like, kind of looks a lot like my grandfather's paintings. He was
Oh,
an oil
wow.
painter. Um, um, and also like, some of the Batman cartoons I used to watch, and Dick Tracy movies, and other, just things I've seen when I was very, very young. Um,
Mhm.
um, like that all like really influenced me. So
Yeah. That's amazing to be able to make those connections and see that through line. I'm curious, it sounds like you were a kid who was into cartoons and some aspect of visual arts, but what's your earliest memory of being creative?
um, well, well, my grandfather used to try to teach me how to paint and
Okay.
draw.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I just it was never I never had it in me. Like I didn't like I enjoyed it, but I wasn't making anything. I was just drawing a house or a dog or whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing
Uh-huh.
that looks like realistic or anything. Um, I had a brief like stint um being a DJ um
Oh,
for like I would say from the age of like 18 to like 25. Um,
okay.
and so I had this like musical creativity, I guess.
Hmm.
But I could never really play an instrument, so DJing is kind of like a halfway in between. Um,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, until I discovered photography, I didn't really like tap into that real creative part of me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
now I feel like I'm like it's something that'll go on forever, right? Like you never just I'm creative now, and this is it. Like it's you always have to work on, and you have to
Yeah.
feel it and listen for the muses, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone is creative, whether it's the creative arts or, you know, accounting or you're a chef or like there are ways to tap into creativity in literally anything and everything we do. So yeah, the introduction into creative pursuits and then finding your own path in DJing and then into photography. As a kid, like what did you want to do when you
I
grew up?
I never knew that answer.
Oh, really?
I was never like a great student. I always had trouble kind of paying attention, especially with like math and um,
Yeah.
like literature, and I don't know. I just was never really excited about anything. Obviously, you kind of you have to do something, right, when
Right.
you start growing up. But yeah, like so as soon as I discovered photography and
Yeah.
saw it as like a viable source of income and something I could
Hmm.
actually do, I jumped right on it because you know, this is for me. So
Yeah. I love that. And I thank you for sharing that because I think oftentimes people assume that, kids have these wild, magical dream worlds of like, I'm going to be an astronaut or I want to be the president or I want to be a gymnast. And that it's a new perspective that like you didn't know what you wanted to be as a kid. And then coming to, photography perhaps later in your life than other people come to their creative pursuits or creative hobbies and having this, it sounds like really open up so many opportunities, but just a whole creative world for you. So thank you for kind of expressing a whole different perspective on how creativity can show up and where it shows up in your life.
well, yeah, I mean that's just how it happened. Yeah, I'm really thankful for how it worked out. But I mean, this sometimes being like a little lost is like exactly what you needed, right?
Mm,
Because like everywhere you end up is like where you're supposed to be. I mean,
yeah.
and now I'm here. So every mistake or every bad move I've ever made has eventually led me to this point. So it's all meant to be in a way. even
Yeah.
all the confusion
Yeah.
all
Confusion that we go through and I'm curious, like the challenges that you faced or have kind of overcome to get to where you are. How do you face more creative challenges when they come up, like in your photography or just in life?
Well, okay, so I'm very passionate about the things I enjoy, right? Like like no matter what it is I'm into it like a lot, at least for a
Yeah.
period of time, right? Like if I find like a new band I like, I'll listen to everything they've ever made on repeat for like a month. And then
Hmm.
until I'm like either sick of it or I just keep going. Um, but for photography, I think I'm the same way. And I want to produce the best images like
Mm.
as possible. And
Hmm.
and you know, the way it kind of works sometimes, especially like away from the like client side, like my personal artwork. If I have an
Yeah.
idea for a piece and I could see the final image like in my mind, even before I've even shot it, right? Like
Hmm.
I'll like stop at nothing until like it gets to this like to that point. And if
Hmm.
I have to learn um, you know, a whole new set of programs like to make it happen, or like dive really deep into Photoshop to figure out like a new method on how to
Hmm.
create like a certain look in like one little area, then I'll do that, and I don't care how long like it's gonna take. So I feel like, and those are like the kind of the lead to the breakthrough moments
Hmm.
that take like my work, like I guess to another level, at least how I feel personally. But yeah, it's like those challenge, like I'll get to a point working on something in Photoshop and then it'll be really challenging. I just like can't figure it out. And I'll like find this like, even if it's just taking different techniques and stringing them together into like a different process, then that'll
Hmm.
unlock so much potential for future works. And then
Hmm.
and when I think about making future works, I already know how to get this certain look. And
Hmm.
then the idea is like just come, right? From
Hmm.
well, now I can do like this or that or that, you know. So um so yeah, I guess those breakthrough moments lead to new potentials for more creativity, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it totally does. No, I love it. I think it's great to, and seeing that when you kind of come up against, oh, I'm not quite sure how to do this, but the dedication or motivation to figure it out that you have sounds like you just kind of hone in and keep moving forward and see it as a learning process and not necessarily as a block or a challenge, because once you figure it out, it can then open so many other creative doors for you in your work.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, like everything you do, like everything I do is like I hope it's successful and I hope it's work. But at the same time, everything I do is practice. Right.
Yeah. That's a really great perspective that I think would benefit a lot of creatives as well. Just that everything we do is practice, and we can still hope that what we do gets the recognition and,
Mhm.
makes us the money that we're looking for as well in the creative career experience. So when you I guess I'm curious for our listeners who may think that they aren't creative or they're struggling with their creativity, how would you encourage others to find creativity in their lives?
Just again, like remember what what brought you here in the first place. But then
Mm-hmm.
also just sometimes take a break or just go to a museum or look at other art forms like
Yeah.
entirely different from what you're making. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the inspiration for my photos comes from like paintings I've seen.
Mm.
And and I was looking at those paintings at a moment when I wasn't thinking about photography at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, something will click and then you'll just
Mm-hmm.
take that inspiration and bring it into your own work. So I find like the best ideas I have usually come when I'm about to fall asleep or driving like for like a 2 hour drive by myself or I'm like
Mm-hmm.
washing dishes. Like
Yeah, it really allows that subconscious mind to play and come forward and say, like, what if this happened, when we do those more mundane tasks that are, we don't have to really focus or think too hard about that
Right.
creative process. Yeah, I love it. I love all of this. Now, do you have a favorite piece of work that you've put out into the world, or is it something that has yet to come out? What for you determines kind of like a favorite, or something you're really proud of, or something that you just felt like this has to be out there in the world?
I mean, it's tough. That favorite piece on the had it like over the mantle in my mind, right? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of rotating.
Okay.
But I feel like it comes with the breakthroughs I was mentioning. Like
Mhm.
I'll create this piece, and in the process of creating it, I'll have discovered something new, which then
Mhm.
changed the trajectory of my work moving forward. So that's
Mhm.
almost like this like monumental piece for me. Um,
Mhm.
and that's happened a few times like throughout, my career here. And so those pieces always stand out. But like they may not be like the most popular and the ones people really like, but to me it's you
Yeah.
know so
The ones that
yeah.
really speak to you. I love that. And I think it's important to have those. They may or may not be the ones that other people find the most exciting, but
Right.
I appreciate that you as a creative and an artist have those pieces in that moment of like, no, this was really meaningful. Or I really enjoyed this process that I went through making this, or learning how to make this particular photograph or art.
Yeah, and I feel like social media is like kind of like it's beneficial. Everyone kind of needs to be on there these days,
Yeah.
but it's kind of dangerous for creativity, right?
Yeah.
Because uh, people want to grow their brand and get their name out there to as many people as possible. So gaining followers, right?
Right.
But the accounts that tend to gain the most followers the fastest are usually following like the current trends, right?
Right.
And like chasing trends almost just sucks your creativity out of you because you're not
Yeah.
creating your own work. You're just creating for like an algorithm and creating work
Mm-hmm.
that other people have already made for. So, um, so yeah, like so some of my favorite pieces like are just like not popular at all. They're in the wrong, orientation for like, to be seen on like Instagram. Like they'll be like
Right.
16 by 9 and looking at it on your phone, it's like this little strip, like film strip. But I mean, like, yeah, to me, like some of those are like my favorites, right? So that's not
Yeah.
like popularity or anything, but I feel like they're so important to make because you should make the best possible work at all times, regardless of what algorithms or whatnot think. So
Absolutely. I totally agree, and think that it's when you stop creating for yourself, that's when you lose your creativity.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been such a lovely conversation. I have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Uh it's like everything. I don't know. Everything at once. It's stressful. It's exciting. It's could be like a little confusing. You're gonna fail a lot.
Yeah.
Um, there's a fear of failing, and I don't. It's a roller coaster. I think, but it's
Yeah.
very rewarding, I think so.
All of it. I love it. Thank you for your honesty and frankness about what it is for you to be creative. Now, if people wanted to learn more about you or your artwork, how could they go about doing that?
You could start on Instagram.
Mhm.
It's under Mind's Eye, MINDZEYE. From there, you could check my link tree in my bio. That'll take you to, all my sites, my website, www.mindseyephotography.com. But also in the link tree, you'll find a link to my new book, which is like my first photo book, and it'll be in stores October 10th. Barnes and Noble in the United States, Indigo chapters in Canada, and Amazon, or North America and parts of Europe for now.
Awesome. Well, that is very exciting. Yeah, I'll put those in show notes so people have easy access and can link them quickly. And congratulations on launching your first book. That's very exciting. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.